Well, good morning again, everybody. This is Sally Roper coming to you from Ocho Rios in Jamaica, and it's another breezy, beautiful day here in the tropics. And I am going to show you how to trim and finish up the two-piece ashtray that I made yesterday. So I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to put the camera down, show you the tools and everything that I'm using, and then I'll talk you through the process of how I trim this, this piece. And let me just get to it. All right, so here I have the pieces that I threw yesterday. I actually made 4 of them yesterday. So this may not have been the exact one that I demoed with you, but it is pretty much the same thing. I have a dowel tool that I use, and I mostly use this just to write my name on the end. At the end, I sign every piece that I make. These are my trimming tools that I use. This is a Diamond Core T5. There's the T5. And I really love this tool. My only complaint is that the blade wears out really, really quickly, but the beauty about Diamond Core is that they send you 3 blades, so it's easy to interchange them. You just undo the screws and the screws here and just put in the new blade. But you can see how the blade itself has gotten pretty narrow. There, let me bring it in a little closer. There. And so this is going to be time to discard this blade and put on one of the new ones. That's my only complaint, but as I said, Diamond Core fixes that by sending you 3 blades, so thank you very much for that. And then this is a Mud Tools all-purpose tool. I just love this tool. I use it a lot. And of course, it's got the rounded end, the squared off end. You can even use the sides a little bit if you have to. It's just a really good multi-purpose tool. And I always have this out when I'm doing my trimming. And I have my sponge. So let me show you how I trim these. So these are the pieces that we made yesterday. So if you remember, we started with the ball of clay. Of course, we centered it. I opened up a little bit in the middle of this one, and then I made the cone in the middle, and you can see that it's hollow. And then once the cone was made, I just pulled out the sides, and as a typical cylinder or bowl or pot or cup, I just threw up the sides. So I threw them to 3 inches tall. The cone in the middle was 2.5 inches tall. And then I made the lid, and this is the way I threw it on the bat. I just made a flat disc, and then I opened up, I made a hole in the middle, and then I just slid my finger underneath to raise this part. So now you're going to see how it all comes together. This is where you would butt out your cigarettes, and this is going to be your lid, and it sits upside down, and this is what it's going to look like as a finished product. But there are a few modifications that we need to make to it. Sorry, I just stepped away for a second to get another tool. It's a Diamond Core. It's another Diamond Core trimming tool. Give me a second, please, please. Okay, this is the one I want. Okay, this one is the X3, and this is what I'm going to use to carve out and make the groove to rest your cigarette on. So I didn't add this to my tools, but anyway, so again, this is the Diamond Core X3, and this is what it's like. It's used for carving, and you just slide it along, and it just cuts a groove into your clay, but you'll see how that goes. And then the other comment that I'm going to make when I do my trimming, and it's an observation, is the amount of space between the cone in the middle and the inside of this. Remember that this dips down, right? You want enough room so that when you flick your cigarette onto the side or whatever, that the ash is going to roll down. So I'm going to roll down and fall into the receptacle part. So I'm going to actually widen this, just not a whole lot. Because the whole idea is that you want the lid to cover up the unsightliness and the smell of the cigarette butts that are in there. So anyway, let's get to it. Now, I don't have I don't have an easy way to trim this lid. I think I'm going to try it the way I'm going to do the lid first. I think I'm going to do it the way I normally trim my pieces, and I don't use any lugs or any additional clay. I'm one of the people, and took me a little while to get used to doing it, but now that I do it, I don't look back, and I've never done it any other way. I just let me turn on my wheel, and I just dampen the I wet it too much. Dampen the wheel head. And then I just run my sponge along this, because this is going to attach to the wheel head, and it's going to create a kind of a slip and a suction. And then I go around. Now I'm not good at tap centering, so what I do is I just hold my thumb there where it rubs. I just give a little push in, but that also helps create a little bit of slip. So now you can see I pretty much perfectly, there we go, this should be perfect. So this is centered now. Not quite. I feel it off a little bit. There we go. And then normally what I would do is pat this down, but I don't want to damage any of this. So what I'm going to do is just take one of the inserts to this to the Sin Tools bat system, and I just very, very softly go around and I just thump it like that, and that's to create the seal, and it'll hold my top in place. It holds that in place, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to trim this piece. Now I don't want the width here is the first thing I'm going to look at, and I want to carve where I'm going to put the width of the upper part of this ashtray. And now I want to do is I want to trim away these pieces here. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, I had a feeling. Sometimes it's good to see on a video what's going to work and what isn't going to work. And I think that kind of went down a little bit. So here's option 2. This is where we use the bottom as the chuck. So I'm just going to wet the bottom a little bit. I'm going to center this same way I center the last one. I just push it, run it, and push it. I'm not good at tap centering. There's a little bit of a wobble in the bowl, but I'm not really going to worry about that. There we go. Okay, so it's pretty much centered. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little moisture in here, here, and I'm going to center this now onto this. And I hope this works. After all, I'm doing a video on it and teaching you how to do this. But this, you just do it what works best for you. This is how I do it. Okay, that's on there pretty solidly now. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm just going to trim away. And I hope the camera angle is good. A little bit of a wobble, but because I'm not putting a foot or anything on this, it doesn't really matter. Okay, now I'm going to go to the inside. I like to throw my pieces as I would say I'm probably better than an intermediate. I don't know that I'd like to call myself an advanced potter. My pottery is fairly simple. You know, funny enough, I can't remember where I was going with this comment. Okay. And then I can just go down on the inside and just clean that out. And that's pretty much it. Oh yes, I know what I was going to say. I tend to throw my pieces pretty much to the thickness that I want them, so that my trimming is minimized. And that just takes a lot of time and skill and just trusting yourself. Okay, so that's it. I've trimmed the top on the outside. Now here's where I take the X3 tool and I measure this in thirds. I have an MKM. My tools are dirty. I have the MKM disc. I've had this for years and years, and I want to do it in threes. So I can just, because I'm going to notch this out, I'm just going to put a little poke there at the threes, and I know where to put my groove for my cigarette holder. Okay? And then I'm just going to take this tool and I'm just going to slide it on. When I made the lid, remember when I said you need to keep a little bit of extra clay at the bottom when we were throwing this, and I said keep this a little bit thicker? This is why. There's always a reason for everything. But anyway, it's because you're going to cut this groove, and if I made it only 1/4 of an inch, then I would cut through the bottom of I would cut through it, but I don't want to do that. So I did it about a little more than that, and then I just cut it out. That's actually not the tool I wanted. This is not the tool. This is the tool. No, where's the tool? Sorry guys, I thought I pulled out the correct tool, but I didn't. That one is too much. Okay. Well, we'll just stick with this one then. This is the X2. X2. That's kind of going down too deep, and I don't like that. I like it a little. It needs to be a little rounder. So I'm just going to recut this. Okay. Go back over to this side. I'm putting my thumb here to act as a counterforce. I just slide it across. That's how easy it is to use this tool to create a carved impression. And then I'm just going to go in with my sponge and clean them up. And that's that. So this would be like I don't have anything, what do I have? It's like a cigarette. This is where your cigarette would rest. So that's it for this part anyway. Okay, now I need to release this. So what I'm going to do is just very carefully go underneath and try and release the bond. Okay. And now I'm going to release this, and when I release this, it's just a matter of letting it slip. I try to grip it, and eventually it will release. And I haven't done anything to damage the bottom. Okay, let's get back to this piece now. I'm just going to put this on, put a little moisture down here, give it something to stick onto, grab onto. This one I definitely want to try and get it centered. Okay. Let me try and see if I can do it with my hands. Press this down, because really what I want to do now is just make it a little adjustment to the inside of this. Okay. And what I'm going to do is take my trimming tool now, and I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. I could do it that way. I could use a trimming tool. This is another way to do it. Okay, that just takes that out. And then I can tidy this up a little bit. And that's that. Then what I'm going to do now is take this off. And you can see it's a nice clean cut. And then you're going to see when I put it on top here, now there's plenty of room for the ash to fall. So I really like that. All right. That's the lid. Now we're going to work on the base. And here I always feel the thickness of the side of my wall, so I know how much I want to trim away. And this is about 1/4 of an inch thick. I don't think I want it too much thinner. I will just run my blade across it just to smooth it out and give it a nice finish. And then I'm just going to trim the bottom. So I don't need to do anything to the inside or to the top. So again, I just put a little bit of water on here, put a little moisture on the rim, slide it or slip it around a little bit so it starts to feel it grab, and then here's where I just do these little tiny pushes. So I just hold my thumb here. So let me show you. If the pot is off, you'll see it do that. So where it touches my thumb, I just push that into center. And I go around again. Where it stops on my thumb, I push it into center. And when it runs around my thumb and I don't feel it going wah, 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 then I know I've got this really centered. Okay, that's centered. Take my tray and I just lightly tap. I don't press too hard because I don't want to damage any part of my pot, but this is just to press and make sure that I've got a very good seal down here. There are some people who like to run a sponge or run something here around the rim. I don't have to. All I do is I just give it a test. I give it a little shake, and if it's holding, then I'm good to go. Now I'm going to go back to my my original trimming tool, which is the T5, Diamond Core T5. Okay, it seems to have gone off center a little bit, so let me see if I can fix this. Let me do it again. It's kind of nice to see when things go, I don't want to say don't go perfectly, they go a little awry, because none of us are perfect potters. Well, I don't claim to be a perfect potter. I have my own style and my own way of doing things, which is different from other people. So you center this any way you feel fit. You see fit, I guess, is really what I want to say. And if I were a good videographer, I would probably edit out all of the nonsense that I chat, but I'm not. One of these days I'm going to learn how to do it. I think I'm just going to put this little tool here across like this. Actually, I have one of the Diamond Core, tools that I just sit on here, and this it spreads out the strength so that when I press down here, I'm not pushing the bottom down, and this will help distribute the weight of the finger. What I use when I'm trimming, and I put my finger in the middle of the pot, my hands are touching. As you see, my thumb is touching and helping to guide the hand that's doing the trimming. So I just grab a little bit of the clay. I go up the side and I just clean. Remember, I felt this and I like the thickness of this pot, so really all I'm doing is just cleaning the side and giving it a nice smooth finish. And I usually just do a second pass, and I'm not holding the tool particularly hard because I'm not trying to remove any of that clay. I threw it to the thickness that I want this pot to be, and that's I've actually gotten to that skill level where I'm able to do that. It's not perfect yet. I still have a bit of a way to go, but I'm a lot better than I was. So now the sides of my pot are where are dealt with. And I like it, and I just kind of sit back and have a look and make sure that I like the shape. I remove that, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to finish up, my little bevel on the corner of all of my pots have a little bevel so that when it sits, there creates a little bit of a shadow and it almost lifts the pot up a little bit. And then what I do is I have a traditional way now that I do pretty much all of the bottoms of all of my thrown pots, be it mugs, bowls, or whatever, but I start in the middle and I just kind of go out almost to the side. I leave about 1/4 of an inch. This is still a little soft. It's probably the bottom of this pot because of the way I dried them last night. I dried them till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I let them sit out and they were really nice, pretty dry. They were a good consistency, or a good dryness, I should say. And then I covered them up overnight. So now that I've got this little bit of rim, now I use my finger and I just compress that and I make a nice little rounded foot. And that's my foot on this pot. Now what I want to do is I just want to go in with my tool and I'm just going to open this up a little bit, because this is, remember where we have the cone? So when I threw the pot, remember I told you I put my finger right down to the bat and then I started to create the inner cone. And this hole is as a result of doing that. So I'm going to use this edge of my trimming tool. I'm just going to open this up a little bit. What this does is it helps in the drying of the pot. It's for no other reason, because the pot is going to sit upside down. You're never going to see this as you're using the pot, but it just helps to dry that out. All right, and I am finished. So I always use my steel rib. Some people will use a, let me see, do I have one nearby? They'll use a silicone rib, which either works fine. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that the surface is clean. And all you're going to do now is just going to compress this clay. And all I do is rub it up, and it gives it a bit of a shine. You'll see the shine, it's like burnishing. And it gives a nice, smooth finish to my clay. Let me get this out of my hand before I nick the pot. Go up to the side, and then likewise, I don't press very hard, but hard enough to compress the clay a little bit and to give it that smooth finish. And I don't really need to worry, but I can do it with my finger just on the inside of this. And that's my finished pot. This is where I take a second and I write my name. Write my name and I write Jamaica and the year. Again, to remove this now, because I haven't put down a ton of water on the rim and on the bat, it's not gonna be very difficult to take this off. But it is a skill, and it's something that you need to learn to do without ruining your pot. I gently let my hands rub along the side, and because I've burnished this now, it's a little, I don't want to say a little sticky, but it is a little sticky. Hold on, I got a little, felt a little something there, so let me just get rid of that now before I take the pot off. Okay, just felt a little tick, and I'll go back and burnish. That's better. Okay, so now I just use my hands, and I don't know, you can hear that, but that's my hand sticking to the pot as the pot rubs. But when I get it like that, I just do it a little bit harder, and eventually my pot will release like that. And then I carefully turn it upside down. As you see, I haven't damaged the shape or anything of the pot. Take my sponge, and I just, so doing it that way of moistening the rim of your pot and just putting a very, very light, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say damp, but it isn't. It's just barely wet when you're sticking the pot to the wheel, and that it doesn't ruin the rim. So there you go. This is the finished piece, And this is the lid. And that's what it's going to look like as a finished piece. So like I said, when you use your cigarette or whatever and you want to butt it out, you can just butt it onto here, you just lift it up and you drop your butt into the receptacle. And that's it. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed this small tutorial on how to make a two-piece ashtray. Let me show you again. This is it. And my signature on the bottom, Sally, Jamaica, 23. And there you go. So I hope you have a really wonderful day. This is part 2. Glazing is up to you. I'm a dipper. Maybe I can show you how I'm going to glaze this if I get inspired by the glazing choices. Otherwise, I just dip this in and I fire it to 5.5. This is B-Mix 5 clay, and I work in stoneware. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, I've already said it, this small tutorial on how to make the two-piece ashtray. Please enjoy the remainder of your day. If you like the video, if you like the video, please subscribe, hit the like button, and I appreciate the support that everybody's given me. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a really wonderful day. Bye-bye.